Hey everybody, welcome to the Because Money podcast. I'm Jackson Middleton, one of your hosts, joined with Sandy Martin, who is in black and white right now. And yeah, we got Kyle Prevo as well. And we've got our special guest, Tom Drake, today. You can't throw a rock on the internet and not find a website that Tom doesn't own. This guy owns almost every finance blog in Canada. Tom has had some part of. But anyways, I'll let Kyle tell you more about Tom and what he does and how he makes money, and we're gonna have a lot of fun today. So here we
Yeah,
go.
Tom's given me, Justin and I, my partner, a lot of help as we started. So I affectionately or sarcastically, depending how you look at it, call him the godfather of Canadian personal finance. I think Tom started this whole online empire thing before I could legally buy a beer. So he's been doing it for a while. He's now growing his sprawling multinational conglomerate to include a lot of the leading personal finance blogs in Canada and a couple in the USA. And perhaps what I find most impressive about Tom Drake's rise to the top is that he's managed to do this on the side. He's got a full-time job, and it's not like it's not one of these full-time jobs where he gets to go there and not do a full-time job. It's like a real full-time job, and he's also raised a young family as he's been doing this. So thanks for coming on, Tom.
Thanks for having me.
So I think what every married person out there wants to ask is, what sort of conversations did you have with your significant other when you started this online thing and you were like, yeah, I'm going to be putting in several hours, many nights, several nights a week, and it will all work out. And it has worked out. But sort of how did those conversations go, Tom?
That's a good question. First of all, I didn't have that conversation at first. I just decided I'm going to start a blog, and so I started it up early 2009, and I didn't think anything would come of it. I figured at best it's a tax deduction, and it was just something fun I wanted to do. So I waited about a week or two, and then I told my wife, her girlfriend at the time, that look, I've got this new site. What do you think? And at first she's like, well, what's the purpose? Because she really didn't get the idea of a blog, really, let alone one on personal finance. But
Yeah. I thought chicks dig personal finance bloggers.
no,
I could have
it's
swore
not
that
true.
was a.
Yeah. Not my reality. Nope, not there for me either. So we're all on the same page.
So yeah, it just kind of evolved from there. It really was more hobby than business, though I knew enough that as a business it would at least be tax deductible.
Cool. And so we've had some conversations back and forth. I just had this weird flashback. I watch a lot of football right now, and the online guys or the guys that talk over always like, we were talking this week about talking about if the quarterback had talked about, and it's just replaying in my head. But you and I have talked about the relationship you and your wife have in terms of splitting up work and just work-life balance as sort of a family unit as opposed to like as individuals, and it works for you guys. So what's sort of the secret sauce in the Drake household?
Well, first of all, I consider it two full-time jobs. I've got my day job as a financial analyst, and then in the evening after the kids go to bed, I do the whole blog thing. Liking both of my jobs makes it a lot easier. I really like the blog job more, but it's certainly it's easier to stay up for it. If you're working 60 plus hours, I hate to actually calculate it. It could be up to 80 sometimes in a week. Um, if you didn't have a certain passion for it, I don't think dollars alone would make that work out. I don't think I could do two full-time real jobs and make it happen. It just wouldn't be there. And then my wife, well, at first she was working, but once we had our first kid, after the maternity leave, parental leave, she decided that we didn't need her to go back. Uh, Obviously, that's a full-time job in itself too, with two kids. When we were looking at it, it just was a case of you get the child care, especially once we had the second kid. Uh, Given her salary, it wasn't going to give a whole lot anyways, so it's not like it was this huge sacrifice in a way. It just seemed a lot more effective for me to put more effort in on my end and go with what was working than to have her almost start from scratch a bit back in her job. It it's just how it worked out. She has been doing a bit of she's an esthetician by trade, so she's been doing a bit of makeup jobs and eyebrows and all that sort of stuff. So she's starting to get the entrepreneurial bug as well.
Oh, that could be dangerous. Two entrepreneurs in the same house. I don't know if there's like enough oxygen for all that. But so like obviously you're right up front with saying, you know, I don't sacrifice time with my kids. I come home, we have dinner together. I have my family time, and then you've got a great quote that you use about sort of your working hours and when you do your damage. I forget the exact words, so I'll let you throw your philosophy out there. But
Oh, I wish I had it. It's not my quote. It's Gary Vaynerchuk. But if I can paraphrase it a little bit, it was that how'd that go? Basically, something about it was related to people that basically say they can't find time to do something else. And the quote was that 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. is plenty of time to do damage. So there's basically time for a full-time job. In the evening, and without getting in the way of family or anything like that. And that's why I like the quote, because it wasn't 4 p.m. on, it was 7 p.m. So
yeah.
literally I get that window with my kids. We have dinner, play games, play toys, whatever, and I put them to bed with my wife, and then I go to it.
Do you stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning?
Sometimes.
Holy moly.
I'd say an average is 1. So 2 o'clock, it does get a little tough. But I've told Kyle before, though, I don't think I'm at the point now where I'd say I'm necessarily proud of how little I sleep. I think it's almost become a hit to the productivity.
Yeah.
If I had a goal, it seems like an impossible goal, but I'd like to get to bed at midnight. And I think if I could get out of that sort of downward spiral, it would be helpful, where I'd probably end up being more productive and still accomplish the same amount. But that's not where I'm at.
This might be totally tangential, but are you a kind of a morning type person, or so do you find that you have the energy to work during the nighttime? My word.
I'm an evening guy. If I didn't have a day job, I'd probably work till 3 or more and wake up at 10 a.m. Also, if I didn't have kids, I guess. But
see that right there. I'm gonna stop you, because I work from home. I do the online stuff, and I've actually started getting up between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. so that I've got all those hours before my kids wake up. Because I was staying up till the 2 a.m., 3 a.m., but then my kids are gonna wake me up at 7. I'm up at 7 regardless. There's no sleeping in till 10 because they're on you. But yeah, I get up before them, and I found that very successful.
Yeah,
it is fun to get up in the morning.
See, I don't get up in the morning well. It's I get up because I have to get up because of the day job, but and the kids, true. 7 o'clock's lately it's been 6 o'clock, but the 7 o'clock's sort of a magic time where you're guaranteed to have that kid alarm go off.
I remember actually talking to, so I work from home too, and I remember talking to somebody 2-3 years ago now when I was just starting the business. We had these calls every week. It's Jason Hall he's in Texas now. I think he started some My Financial Answers. I think you probably know him, but he told me one time, if you're not getting up or staying up late, then you're doing this part time. Like if you don't have the time during the day, you have to make it somewhere. And for 3 years now, I've been getting up at 5 o'clock every morning, and it feels like the best time in the whole day. Like, oh, I can have a coffee and it's hot by myself. Amazing. Everything else just comes with it. Like, oh yeah, I also do work then, but the coffee's hot and there aren't really any kids yelling at me, which is quite refreshing.
Well, that's the same way I feel in the evening. Certainly there's times where you got a sick or cranky kid and they wake up again, maybe 10 o'clock or something in the evening. My wife certainly covers that then. I'll help get them to bed, but she'll make sure I get that block of work time.
So you were saying that your goal is to get to bed at midnight. Do you think now, I mean, obviously, since 2009, things are a lot different in the amount of time that you could potentially put into all the things that you're doing. Is something going to have to give? Do you feel that coming, or has it come already? Or
what I'm doing to get around that a bit is just changing how my business looks. you guys mentioned all the sites I own. One thing I'm trying to do is kind of merge them up and just have a little less to work on. But same traffic, there's no loss there, but it's less maintenance, it's less time spent, it's just also less space in my head. It gets to be too much stuff that you're constantly thinking about. So I'm trying to get a little bit minimalist in my business as much as I can. Even in my life, productivity hacks and stuff has become my new obsession of trying to figure things out and streamline it where I can.
What's something that you can think of? Sorry, Kyle. What's something that you can think of as a lifestyle hack that you've tried that has actually been working for you?
Things that keep me focused have been great lately. Like I'm gonna pronounce this wrong, but Pomodoro technique. It's basically
the 15-minute intervals or 20.
20, I think, maybe
20,
even 25. I don't know if it's always even rigid about the time, but certainly, yeah, you got a moment of focus and then 5 minutes of a break, and then you go back in, kind of thing. And just having a clock to work to like that, even if you made it up yourself and I'm just going to work solid for an hour, it keeps you a little more laser focused. Another neat thing for productivity I did recently, and it seems a little too new age for me, but it actually seems to be working, is brain.fm. It's a neat site that they have sort of this sometimes odd music, but it's basically a science-based thing of focusing you. Obviously, there's no lyrics in the music. It does sound very new wave-ish, but I just thought I'd give it a try, and it's amazing. And also on the point of trying to get sleep, they also have a sleep setting, which is a whole different set of strange music.
Yeah, I just poked that site open. That looks pretty awesome. Sleep, focus, relax. Have you checked out Chris Bailey at Life of Productivity in Ottawa?
No, I don't think so. No.
To feed your obsession, that's kind of where I've get some of my life kind of productivity hacks. He just wrote a book called The Life of Productivity, and he did a year of productivity where he's dedicated an entire year to just learning how to be more productive, and then he wrote blogs about it. You should totally check that cat out.
Yeah, anyways. Someone actually mentioned this to me. I remember the site now, but I never actually checked it out. Just at a conference, someone was like, "Oh, you got to talk to this other Canadian and check out their site." I totally slipped my mind, so I'll have to make sure I actually check it out this time.
My new productivity hack is to listen to people with kids and their schedules and what they have to do, and then not have kids. It's making me feel quite lazy. So I will get my butt in gear since I have no excuse, clearly.
Yeah, now wins the internet now. He wins the internet with that comment.
It would be a good time to lay as much groundwork as you can, because I know you're newly married, so it wouldn't surprise me if kids are around the corner at some point.
Yeah, my dad hopes. But
yeah. The more you could do now, that's one. If I had something I wish I could turn back the clock on, I wish I had a clue about this stuff. Part of the reason I got into personal finance to begin with was because we had a kid on the way. So by then it was a little too late to really get into any really productive time then.
Yeah. So you talked, Tom, about we were looking at, have you reached a point yet where you feel something giving one way or the other? And I know this sort of devil and angel on the shoulder interplay has been going on for a while. But why haven't you just lived the dream like these guys I see online, like whether it's the 4-hour work week or like the Pat Flynn or all these guys who they give speeches about just jump and it'll all work out, and they use all these buzzwords and they try to sell you their spreadsheet or their whatever. Why haven't you just become one of these guys that sells the dream? Why are you still working at your big bad corporate job there?
There's certainly times I want to just jump. I think lifestyle-wise, it would be nice to maybe be the one at home that I can pick the kids up and stuff, and my wife could go back to work to add a little stability at the same time. And we'll probably get to that point. But I don't know. Lately, one of the reasons I still do it is because I can. It's as long as I'm not feeling like I'm about to break because I think I push on. It's also gives some safety, obviously, but I know a lot of the entrepreneurial types you mentioned. They say go for it, but I'm personal finance first, and anything I can do to protect my worth kind of thing, I don't see the point. If I ever got to the point that I was making so much more money on my business, then okay, maybe. But I make more on my business than I do on my day job. But it's not just massively raining in that I can just make it rain and quit my job. But
yeah, I know my students all the time, because occasionally I will try to gain some street cred by showing them something I've written in the Globe and Mail or in a magazine, which never works, for one thing. Like, half the class is like, okay, well, Globe and Mail, what is that? Like, it's not
kids
BuzzFeed.
don't read that.
What do you, like, give me a break. It's not a list. I'm not clicking on that crap. But yeah, so occasionally I will try this, and they're like, and then the ones that do pay attention are like, why are you teaching? Like, you're writing, and it's like, yeah, I wrote this for free, or I got paid, the same amount of a half day of teaching, and it's hard. It's harder than people think to maybe make that jump, or and you talk about the entrepreneur versus the personal finance, and I always have that battle in my head too of the entrepreneurs like. Go try all these things and throw yourself into it wholeheartedly and see what happens, and how can you even call yourself an entrepreneur if you still have a job? Yeah, Jackson's raising his hand. That's what he does. He's the man. I'm still like, no, I'll dip my toe in, but I'm gonna like hang on to the edge here with my benefits plan and all these nice things about sort of being a teacher. So it is. I think it's a unique thing for each individual to sort of break down for their own. Like you mentioned, kids and a family, and I think that alters the equation. I don't know, Jackson, what was like the driving force for you?
I just simply can't work for anyone else. I don't like people telling me what to do. So I've always just found my own thing. But no, I think Tom nailed it when he said, he's personal finance first, and he's going with what works for him. And that makes a lot of sense. I found that when I finally accepted who I was and started doing things that I was comfortable doing, and like Tom, I think you nailed it, Tom, when you said, because I can, because this is what I still can do. I realized very quickly that I can't work for other people, and it's not a bad thing. It's just I'm not wired that way. I will work for 16 hours, 6 days a week on my own, doing my own thing, and I'll struggle for you to tell me what to do for 2 hours a week. Same money, I'll choose to work for myself. I just know how I'm wired, and have kind of figured that out. So if you're personal finance first, and that's where you place your emphasis and your value, great. But for me, I put it on freedom, being able to do what I want when I want, to be my own boss, and I'm hardwired entrepreneur, and I mean so much so that we moved out to the island and we live as hippies on a commune on the side of on the side of a mountain with chickens. It's crazy, but I'm loving life and I'm doing what I want to do, and nobody's telling me what not to do. So, kind of having fun and just doing it.
You should write a book like the 18-hour or the 18 hours a day work week. Like as opposed to the more.
Hey, don't
popular.
get me wrong. I like cooking and I like doing other things better than working, but I'll do what I need to when it comes down to it. But.
And Sandy, you sort of have like a gray area blend, right? Because like sort of your side gig sort of blends in and gives credibility to like your full-time income, or how would you describe it?
It is my full-time income. So I blog as an ancillary activity for my financial planning business.
Right.
But I'm not an entrepreneur at heart. Like, I was never yearning to watch the bank account for like when the next deposit was coming in or anything. I'm not a risk taker. So the idea that I'm doing this now, 5 years ago, I would have laughed at myself and thought it was an alternate universe. But there was a time when I was self-employed doing this, and my husband was self-employed in construction, and it was insane. It was just too much. So now he's self-employed as a house dad.
Nice. That is ideal.
Jackson mentioned freedom, and one thing I did find lately is with the business doing slightly better than my day job is my stress level at work has gone down a lot. So I don't have the freedom wise of just showing up whenever I want, but where I used to get stressed out, now it's not that I don't care about my job, but it's just a different feeling of it. Like I could be in a room of people completely stressed, worried about whatever the latest crisis is in our work, and it just doesn't seem to, I don't know, affect me. I can be just fine.
Yeah. So it is interesting how each of us has sort of created their own unique approach to balancing this stuff. One thing I wanted to know, Tom, and just so we know, Tom's might be in and out here a little bit as we figure out some technical issues. Did you anticipate in 2009? So you were, if not the first, one of the first few sort of personal finance blogs, and really probably one of the first blogs in almost any niche to actually make some money. Did you foresee did you want to turn this into a side gig, or like sort of at what point did that evolution happen?
Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, I switched to a different mic. It's a good question. I don't know when I sort of noticed how it was going to become something more, because it really was an evolution. It's not like I don't have this huge spike of traffic or income. It was this slow build, and even some drops, and then it would go back up. So it really just kind of happened. It's like when you look at your kids, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're a lot taller. You don't notice it sort of as it happens.
How old are you now? Cool. So did you, at what point were you like, man, I'm going to make a lot of money off this? And then you really, was there like a motivational curve? Like you were super motivated and then you didn't make a lot of money, and then, or sort of the money came in and then you were like, man, I want to just do this.
Yeah. Once it started becoming really consistent and certainly bigger amounts, it does help the motivation. It's I don't think I could have done it this long. It's not terribly long, but for years without something coming back to me, for sure. You mentioned sort of from your vantage point, I'm one of the first sort of sites in Canada, but really there were quite a few before, but a lot of them have come and gone, and that's probably due to lack of income. That you just can't keep doing it forever. So kind of by attrition, I've become one of the more established bloggers over time. But when I started, I was reading blogs. I read 6 different Canadian blogs, and only one of them still stands, really.
That's interesting. So there's like a keep plugging away moral in there somewhere.
Well, yeah,
like,
no,
you're
just definitely plotting. That's totally it. You're a plotter, and that's the coolest thing out there. I mean, it's funny because how I first found out about you is I sat around my house and thought, I'm gonna buy some really cool finance blogs, and I started doing GoDaddy searches, and you owned every site that I said, man, I want to own that one. And so I mean, I've kind of been following you for a while, but I mean, you've been there like right from the start, and you keep going. So that's totally cool.
Well, that was another thing I was able to do to build too, is because I had the income at my day job, money I made at the business didn't necessarily, I wasn't relying on it to pay the bills. It was I could reinvest it back into buying sites and all sorts of fancy software and stuff like that. But nowadays I'm getting better about trying to actually make sure there is some extra income for us, and not just putting it all back into the business. But for the first 5 years, probably, I probably didn't really pull any money out of the business.
I picture you, Tom. Tom and I are both UFC fans. I picture Tom cutting like a UFC promo, being like, "Embrace the grind. It doesn't just happen overnight. You gotta want it," or like something all cliched and sportsy like that.
I was just gonna say that it makes me picture this one image. You probably have all seen it, maybe, but where 2 people are kind of digging a tunnel, and one stops, and the other's just like a fraction of one more dig, and they kind of hit this pile of diamonds, I think it is, because if you stop, you don't really know what's next.
Before we say goodnight here, I wanted to ask all you family folks, sort of, if you had any like tips off the top of your head for some of the people out there that are looking at doing something on the side. Maybe they're into this personal finance thing now and they want more money to invest. Their day job is, they're working towards a promotion, but it's just not cutting it. They want to earn some money on the side. What's some tips to like balance that out? I know Tom talked a little bit about how he does it. How can you, aside from waking up at 5 a.m. or embracing sort of hacks, is there one thing that you were like, oh, this really actually works quite well, and my wife or husband is happy with it, and it allows me to do X, Y, Z?
For me, I think the biggest thing when I hear people say they can't do anything, not necessarily if kids or not, but the idea that you can't do anything, but these are the same people that say, oh, I had a long day at work, so now I'm going to watch TV for 5 hours. And that it drives me slightly crazy that they don't see the available time. And yeah, you don't have to stay up till 2 a.m. You don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. But even like 3 hours a day would be just an amazing amount of time that you could put into something. And some people just say, nah, I don't have any time. I'm busy all day, and it's just not true if you looked at what you're actually doing.
Isn't that the other Gary Vaynerchuk famous quote? Stop watching Lost.
Yes, that actually is him.
Yeah, stop watching, and then a big old swear word, Lost. Yeah, I mean, and that's one of his best lines. It's like, wow, you don't have time? Stop watching Lost. And it's just, I remember the first time I heard it, and it's like, I think I was actually watching Lost the hour before that I watched it. I'm like, I don't have time for this. And yeah, for real. So it was, smackdown.
Yeah, I've become so, I don't know, anti-TV in a way that I won't watch new shows. We have some shows, and I need some time to spend with my wife, so we will watch like one show an evening. But people at work will say, "Oh, you gotta watch this new show." I'm like, no, I'm kind of just waiting for my shows to get canceled. Like as another show gets canceled, we leave it at that.
Wean yourself off of them. See,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
of course, I'm always going to say this, but if somebody is sitting at home saying, I want to start a side business, or I need to make more money, my first question is never, well, how are you going to do it, and what are the life hacks you're going to put in place, or why are you still watching TV? It would be, why are you doing it in the first place? Honestly, like it seems like for somebody who's never even thought about it, it seems like a wonderful idea. I'm just going to go out and make an extra $1,000 a month. But I would say if the amount of work that you have to put in, the amount of your own just personal energy capital, and then maybe some of your own, investment capital that you would need to do it, I would want to know, why do you feel like you need to do that in the first place? Not to say, well, start making your own toilet paper and then you don't have to make more money. I don't mean like spend less and then you don't have to worry about this as a question, but yeah, I would definitely ask why you feel like you need to do it before telling people to go start.
So yeah, compare it to why do you need it, and maybe compare it to why not go work for someone else. If money is the only factor, like Tom said, probably even now with like a fully developed company, if Tom put in all those hours working for someone else, he could probably come pretty close. Or what do you think, Tom? Would you actually overshoot working for someone else in terms of income coming in? You were saying it's more of a passion, or it was at least at first, right?
Yeah, like if you didn't have a passion for what you do, it would get it'd just be impossible. The dollars only take you so far. Like this is basically what Sandy said. Like if you don't have a reason for doing something, then the money alone's not going to do it.
Yeah, and it's funny because that was my point when you were going to roll it around to me and say, Kyle, you were going to go, Jackson, what do you think? I was going to say, you got to do something you're passionate about. I mean, if you're not passionate about it, forget it. You will not follow through. So if you can see yourself doing it consistently without generating income, and the act of doing it itself is worthwhile and brings you joy in your life, great. Just be smart about it and figure out how to monetize it. But if it takes 5 years, great. But yeah, I mean, side businesses, yeah, if you do it just for the money, forget it, you'll fail.
So, Tom, before we wish everyone Merry Christmas here, why don't you tell us, and we'll give you like about 7.5 minutes here so you can go down the entire list of where we can find Tom Drake.
Well, Canadian Finance Blog's obviously the most the site I'm most known for. It is the one I started with, but I've certainly spread out. createhype.com is sort of where I cover some marketing stuff, because it's kind of been a bit of an exciting thing for me as I build the business. And there's a slew of sites in the States that I have not merged to anything yet, so I'm trying to figure those out. But Personal Dividends, Stupid Cents, even Financial Highways, mostly American angled. Money Mastermind Show. I'm on there with Kyle, so got to give that one a shout out. And there's probably a few more.
So if you type in money and Canada, Tom will be like 6 of the top 9 results.
I haven't tried that.
Oh yeah. The first 78 pages of Google, all Tom.
All right, guys, we're going to take a little Christmas break. So this will be our final episode, and we will see you again January 12th. Until then, on behalf of Sandy and Jackson, because Money would like to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays.
Goodbye.